Gérard, welcome to Montreal. It's such a pleasure to have you. Last time I did an interview with you, you were on the camera in Narbonne, and I was here, so it's nice to finally have the chance to get together, especially for the launch of the book that you just wrote. En français, in French, La Nature au Coeur, and in English, it's
Nature at Heart.
Yeah. So I read your first book. This is your second one. And I would say, pleasantly surprised by this book. I did not expect such an intimate and personal book. What made you feel like you had to write this book?
You know, the first book, Wine, Moon and Star, was more an autobiography. And it was important for me to explain my journey in the wine industry, starting with my grandmother, my father, who was a source of inspiration for me, and then to share my vision about the south of France region. And in the second book, it's more intimate because you know, it's a question of nature, sensitivity, and spirituality, and it's because it's you know, this is an interesting period of time. Because of course, when you see what's happened over the last years and decade, we have done a lot of progress in the world. But now we have just to think that the nature is stronger and more intelligent than us. That means the nature gives us the possibility for 400,000 years to be there, to be happy and to have enough food and to enjoy life. But of course, because now we are 8 billion people, we have some challenges, and when you see the report of the GIEC now, we see that if we want to preserve a good climate on Earth, we have 3 to 5 years in order to make some changes. And I want to share with a human being my vision about how to live in a better world with more sensitivity, more respect, more spirituality, as well as facing the challenges and in order to maybe to stop the decrease of biodiversity, and of course to develop what is important for me, living soil, because when you develop the organic matter in the soil, you capture much more carbon, and this is very clear that 1% of organic matter more is 30 tons of carbon per hectare. That means it's 110 tons of CO2. And I think that viticulture must be an example for agriculture, because we don't need to drink wine to stay alive. Sometimes we have to make compromise with food. But viticulture must be an example as well, because wine connects people. And I think that's a great example of what people need in order to stay together. And we see now that we are also facing a lot of challenges with nationalism in many countries. And I think that the best example of communication between, for example, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, and so on, is wine. Because we produce wine for more than 2,000 years, and forever, wine was an example of celebration. And that's why, I have written this book. It's very personal, it's intimate, and I also explain I propose some solution. I propose solution in order to reduce a little bit the consumption of animal proteins and to consume more vegetable proteins in order to keep stable the forest in the world. But for me, my fight is the biodiversity as well as the soil. This is the two most important topics, and this is what I want to share with people.
I have a lot of different questions for you in what you just said, but when you talk about we consume too much in general, right? We have the globalization, too much consumption. How, as a wine producer, do we deal with this? Because you produce something, you sell something, so how can we come into symbiosis with environment and with those values when we produce something?
First of all, I think that for human being, we don't have to feel guilty. This is not a positive, feeling. We just need to improve the level of knowledge of people, and also we need to make more suggestions. I really think that people are clever, but they don't want to be obliged. They just prefer to receive the good and the right messages. And this is really where we are now. I think the young generation is going to make the changes. And I think they are concerned more than us with what is happening now. But more importantly, I think they want to create a new paradigm for the world. That's why, despite of the political problems, I think the young generation, they have the capability to change the world for the best. And changing the world is not stopping to travel or living in one place for the life. I think it's just a question of balance. And balance is, of course, measure the carbon that you save or the carbon that you develop, and also to compensate the carbon. And we have many possibilities to compensate the carbon. And I think also if, as I say, if we increase 1% the organic matter in the world, we are going to reduce drastically the carbon issue. And but more importantly, I think that now people are open also to develop the communication between the different civilizations. Because at the end we have only one planet, and we have to preserve it, and we have also to ask the right questions. That means, how do we manage the planet when we have a chance to move from 8 billion people to 10 or 12? And what do we do in order to keep the climate stable for everyone?
You talk a lot in your book about being in touch with oneself, how with times we've stopped being in touch with ourselves and therefore with nature, with our community. Do you see this path of spirituality as an answer to be more in touch with what needs to be done in terms of biodiversity and also feeling responsible to protect the environment?
Yes. I really learn about my own experience, and of course, the good thing with the nature is when you, for example, you walk in the vineyard, when you go back home, when you see the skies, when you see the stars, when you see the sun rising in the morning, the sunset during the night, you develop your own roots, and you also develop your connection between Earth and the cosmos. And you understand that we live in the universe. That means we are not there only for working, for sleeping, and you are there also for something. That means everyone, we must know why we are there on Earth, and what is the purpose of our life. And I think, of course, if you want to become yourself, first of all, you have to go over yourself. And the sport, when I was an athlete, teach me a lot, because when you have to reinforce your own capacity, and when you have to go beyond your own possibility, you go beyond your limits. And this is a game changer, because you start to feel that we have many possibilities. And the possibility you have to develop, it's a question also of balance between your capability, but also between your mental and your spirituality. And of course, I have developed my level of spirituality because I become more conscious about my mission on Earth, and also about how to develop my own potential, how to reinforce my trust, and how to connect with people. And when you feel like that, you have also to understand what is knowledge. For me, knowledge it's a link between philosophy, religion, as well as science and art. It's not only science, because I love science, but science cannot be the single answer. Mm-hmm. Taking care of the nature, because everything is a nature, is also more important, because at the end of the day, we need to have the genius of the science. We need also to develop art, because art is what people need to develop the connection between themselves, and also to reinforce the beauty, because we live in a world of beauty. And when you go in the nature, it's blooming myself about the beauty and of the different trees and the garrigue and different places. And this is important for me, because when you are in a one industry and when you develop organic and biodynamic process, you reinforce what we call the sense of place. And the sense of place doesn't come from any technical. The sense of place comes from the soil, the subsoil, and the message in the bottle. And of course, which is amusing with a grape variety, is that when you taste the grapes, you don't have any taste. But after fermentation, you develop the taste of fruits, of vegetables, of flowers. That's why it's magic, yes? And this is, in a glass of wine, you can really discover the message of the terroir. That's why it's a strong connection with your roots, with also, what's happened in a part of the world. And, and at the end, as Steiner has explained in the biodynamic process, if you put a dark plastic around the planet, nothing is going to grow, because the strength of life are coming from the sun. That's why, it's really important to understand what's happened in the cosmos, and with Van Allen belt, and with, what's happened with the cloud and everything. And if we want to secure the planet, we have to keep on earth the harmony. And the harmony between the strength of the cosmos and the strength of the planets, of the cosmos, yes. That's what I have learned. And of course, I produce much more wine, better wine now than before. And because we have learned a lot, and also because we have experiment on daily basis, and we have living souls, and the answer is in the glass.
I like when you talk about how the wine industry can become a leader in this fight against climate change, and I agree with you, because it's a moment that we share with people we love. When we share a glass of wine, it's so much more than just the glass. It's everything that surrounds it. And I think if we bring the consumer into this fight against climate change, we have a message, like you say, in the bottle, through the glass to the consumer. You said to me in my book, I propose a lot of solutions, how to get back to the roots. A consumer who loves what you do, reads your book, can you maybe share with us some of those few solutions that we can embrace in our everyday today life?
Yeah, I think, it's, we don't have to be desperate, because it's already too late. That means we just have to remain positive. And sometimes when you remain positive, you have some surprise. And I think the world can change in 1 second if the positive energy come back. You know, the people were suffering during over the last 2 years with the COVID crisis. And now in Europe, you know, we have the problem and the war between Russia and Ukraine. That's why, you know, the energy, globally speaking, is not really positive right now. And the good thing with a glass of wine is when you start to talk, you stop to fight. That's why, you know, wine is a social link. That means if everyone can change the world, that means if we remain positive, if we become a source of inspiration for your neighbors, it's a good start. And you know, and one after another, of course, the challenge is to teach people, to coach people, and also to help them. And the key is to open their mind, but more importantly, is to open their heart. Because love is going to change, and we have to move from a paradigm of fear to a paradigm of love. Because love is a game changer. That means when you make wine with love, of course, this is your DNA, this is your blood. That means if on top of that you have the technique, if you have the great terroir, you know, you can create a masterpiece. And this is the solution. The solution for everyone is to become more conscious, to spread the word, to spray into the world the love, and also to be passionate, because in order to connect people, in order to explain to people, first of all, you have to prove yourself. And there is two ways to do that. First of all, to prove yourself internally, because our own temple is our body. That means we have to be aligned with ourselves in order to have a good health, and in order to, if you want to be positive, you need to be healthy. And number two is to help people to choose the right book, like your book as well, you know, in order to become more conscious about the priority from themselves. And we have all different priorities. Of course, when I was 20, my priority was to be successful in sport, and then was to be successful in the wine industry. And then, when you have enough success, you know, you shift and you say, what can I do next? And of course, for me, the priority now is to share my experience and my passion for the planet, for the biodiversity. That's why I want to share what we have achieved already in terms of organic and biodynamic principle, because we are the leader in the world, but we want to see the world of wine changing. And I think that in the next 10 years, 50% of the wine industry will be organic. And it will be time to also to convince our friends in agriculture to do the same in order to reduce the level of pesticide, and then later on to stop to use pesticide in order to have more living soil and to eat and to drink better food and better wine.
My last question for you is, you talked about fear in the book, how we have to liberate ourselves from fear. Which fear you think the wine industry has to liberate itself from to move forward?
You know, I think in the wine industry is quite simple. Now the good thing is that the world of wine become more and more premium, and more and more also investors arrive in the wine industry with the will and the capability to create good wine or great wines. And I think that wine industry is not a business like another business. If you want to be successful in the wine industry, you have to be passionate, because my father taught me that when you plant a vineyard, it's not for yourself, it's not for your kids, it's for your grandkids. That means wine industry is a multi-generational business. And that's why, you know, it's interesting, because we make wine in the world for close to 30 centuries. And wine was since ever a symbol in the religions, also a symbol of fraternity, a connection, a way to celebrate great moments. And we have many great moments in life, sometimes also to celebrate bad moments. But of course, the fear of in the wine industry is to not be successful. But even if sometimes you are not commercially successful, you can be successful with your friends, and you can let a testimony for the next generation to come. My grandmother, she was born the 1st January 1900, Paul, and she has planted the first vineyard in 1920. And she couldn't ever believe that we are going to make a tribute to her and celebrating his life with the Cuvée 100. This is a 100 years old Carignan coming from the Corbière area. And when I drink this wine, I really feel the strong character of my grandmother. That's why, it's important to do something for a bigger picture. This is also very important. And when you have, like we have, commercial success, it's a responsibility to share with the world the key principle of our success, but more importantly, the reason why of our life. This is my challenges now.
Well, I want to thank you for the great work you're doing, and I do believe that through the agriculture farming that you do, you will sink more carbon. And I think, I truly believe that the wine industry can become a leader, and we need more Gérard Bertrand out there to continue this great work to have wines, as I wrote in my book, a wine for tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Michel, and thank you everyone if you have take the time to read my book and the Michel's book. I think we are aligned with the priority, and I remain very positive because my daughter and my son, they are 24 and 22. They have a passion also for life. They have a passion for wine, and they are already conscious about the priority for the planet. And I am sure that the new generation will change the world for the best.
I could not agree more. I think that the solutions are out there. We just need to adopt them and inspire people to follow.
Thank you, Michel.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.